But I do remember when I was living in my car and I would imagine the day where I was going to get I never really wanted a Sprinter, but I was like, I'm going to get a Ram ProMaster and it's going to be bigger and I'm going to have a lot more space. And now that I live in this Chevy Express, I'm like, no, I don't want to get a bigger vehicle. In fact, I'm thinking about getting I never thought I'd be saying this, but I have a secret to share with you. Okay, lean in. I gotta tell it to you. Okay, ready? I miss living in my car. Now that may not be too shocking to you, but it's something I never thought I would say. But I'm sharing it because I get a lot of people saying that they could never live in a car. So before I get to all that, let me tell you a short backstory. I always said I wanted to travel, but I wanted to wait until my kids were grown up and so I could do some extensive traveling. And finally, my two sons, they moved out of the house. So in 2018, I traveled to Europe for 3 months, South America for 2 months, and I loved it. Now, at the same time, there was a lot of stuff happening with the job I used to have, but I'm going to be making a video about that whole situation in a future video. But all the paths kind of collided at the same time, and I was like, I want to travel full time, but I need to have the freedom to do so. So what could I do to make money? So I was like, I'm just going to start a YouTube channel. So after 11 years, I resigned. I didn't have any income. So I was like, okay, the plan I had for going to travel internationally with no income was down the tubes. All right. So now I actually don't have a place to live. I don't have a job. I don't have any money coming in and I can't monetize on YouTube yet. What am I going to do? I've seen other people living in their cars. So let me give that a try. It was just a thought. Didn't have any other experience living in a car. Something inside me just said, this is something that you should try. So I drove from California to Vancouver, Canada and back. And I was like, I'm sold. I could do this. I love it. Now that's where I'm going to stop the story to say that since I have my YouTube channel, I've been doing this for like 3 years now. It breaks my heart because I get the most comments, especially from solo females, that they are too something to travel or to live in a vehicle, too afraid, too broke, too old, too many life issues, too many health issues, and mostly they just wouldn't know where to start. That's too many excuses and too bad, but you know what's too good? Being part of the snack pack. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, throw a like on this video, and keep watching till the end so you can hear all the things I loved about living in my car. Now, I get it. There are some things that will definitely prevent you from doing certain things, but all those other excuses, that could be taken one day at a time. I had never lived in a car before, but I just decided to just give it a try. There's no harm in testing it out. And the other reason I wanted to make this video is because I get a lot of messages from people saying they are about to lose their homes and they really need some guidance. And when I get those messages, my heart goes out to them, but I'm also like, you can do this. You can make this work. The first step is changing your mentality about it. You have to just decide that this is going to work. When I quit my job and I didn't have another income, I was like, this is going to work. I was laser focused on what I was doing. There was days where I'm like, this doesn't look like it's going to work. Like I don't have anything coming in, but I just kept my focus and I depended on God the whole time. I've also heard from people that are tired of paying $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month just to live in an apartment. So they're also like, I want to try living in a vehicle and I don't know what to do or if it's going to be okay. If you're in any of those situations and you've made any of those excuses, I want you to drop it in the comments so that I can encourage you in the snack pack and encourage each other, because you can do hard things. Now, I know you're looking around and you're like, oh yeah, but you got a van now, so you're all cozy and comfy. Yes, I do. But let me tell you the things that I loved about my car over my van. Now, before I get into the things I loved about living in my car, I want to say one thing. Test yourself. Make a plan to do one test living in your vehicle. Go for one overnight somewhere far enough from your house so you don't sneak back home, and just give it a try. And then if that goes well, try it for a week and on. And then you'll be one step closer to doing this full time so that you can get yourself into a better position, or you can save a lot of money by living in a vehicle. Number one, less responsibility, hands down. With this van, I got to think about solar panels, battery, running out of power, if my refrigerator is going to stop, is anything going to catch on fire, am I running out of water, and even basic things that you don't think about, like driving a bigger vehicle that's very heavy because there's a lot of stuff in here. Number two, and this one I haven't heard anybody else say, but for me, living in my car, I was more productive. Living in this van, I have a bed. I can lay down anytime I want. It's like a little mini apartment, so I could just just come back here and chill out, watch the Netflix. Now I do work a lot, edit a lot, film a lot, but in my car, there was only the back seat, which had a blown up air mattress, so I couldn't really sit back there, and then my front seat, and it's a front seat. What can you do? So it forced me out of the car. I sat in Starbucks a lot more, walked around places a lot more. I sat in my car a lot, but I look back now and I'm like, where was I going? Where was I sitting? Because I surely was not sitting in the car that much. I feel like I get out of the van less. Number 3, the car was way more stealth. And I laugh to myself now because back then I was nervous of parking my car anywhere. I was like, oh, they're gonna notice me. Oh, if I park here, I gotta park just right. And now when I'm trying to park my van anywhere, I recognize how big and bulky this thing is. And I'm like, I could have parked my car anywhere and people wouldn't have noticed. But now with this van, it's very noticeable. And number 4 is similar. The car was compact. I mean, I could whip that thing all around. I could go anywhere. I could go through any drive-through. I could go through any parking garage, anywhere, and never even think about it because it's just a regular car. With a van, there's times where I can't go through drive-throughs. I can't go through like to some malls. And there's times where I think through about driving this van somewhere and I'm like, that's going to be a bummer for parking, which leads me into number 5, the gas mileage. When I was driving around my car, I wouldn't have to fill up as much and the cost wasn't as much. So now with the van, I'm a little more cautious and choosy, especially with these gas prices now, about where I go and what I do. Number 6 won't apply to everybody, but for those of you that are content creators, I'm going to tell you another secret. When I was living in my car, I did better on YouTube because people like to see relatable things. I think living in a car is a little bit more relatable because most people have cars and not everybody has a van, especially a built-out van. I also think people like to see other people struggle. I'm not being critical. I'm just thinking about like reality TV, and when you see people doing hard things, people love to see that more. So if you currently live in a car or a smaller vehicle and you're a YouTuber and you're like, I can't wait to get my Sprinter van, I would think twice about that before you jump into that and maximize the time living in your car. Number 7 is living in a car forced me to be more of a minimalist. Less things, less choices, and less things to worry about. But I do remember when I was living in my car and I would imagine the day where I was going to get I never really wanted a Sprinter, but I was like, I'm going to get a Ram ProMaster and it's going to be bigger and I'm going to have a lot more space. And now that I live in this Chevy Express, I'm like, no, I don't want to get a bigger vehicle. This is already too big. One person, this is enough space for me. In fact, I'm thinking about getting a little plot of land that I could park my van when I want to get off the road for a short period of time. And if I do, and I have some extra money, I'm thinking about getting a car or a minivan for shorter trips. I really think that the best of both worlds is a minivan because you have a little bit more space than a car, but less to deal with when it comes to having a van with all the things. You might be wondering, well, if you love living in your car so much, why do you live in a van now? Partially it had to do with the pandemic, but there's other reasons as well as to why I really live in this van, and I'll share that and the benefits of living in a van in my next video. If you want to see more real-time updates of where I'm at and behind the scenes of some of the videos that you don't get to see on here, you can be one of my sweetie pies if you join Patreon, and the link is in the description below. Bye for now. Secret that I want to so I decided to that whole thing in future in the near, but I'm gonna make it. There's no harm in giving it there's no harm in the car is compact. What the flip with all these helicopters? Oh my gosh. So in my next video, and the link is in the description, and the link's in the, but I still didn't have, what the flip am I trying to say? Snack time. Snack time.